getting my camera ready, so bear with me 1 second. Okay, there we go. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. It is July 8th, Tuesday, July 8th, 2024, the year of new beginnings, and I'm here with soul strengthening sessions. Yeah, I felt led to do live stream, and I started writing this earlier today. I'm calling this the problem with relationships. And, oh, hold on a second. I wonder if I can do something. I'm still learning how to use my screen. No, it's not letting me. So yeah, this is what my screen looks like, I guess. I'll just leave it be. The problem with in relationships. So it's kind of a double meaning. The word with and in and together within. So yeah, we're going to get into this tonight for a little bit. I'm actually going to do 2 parts because there's a lot to cover. And even as I was writing, I am still writing. So we're going to talk about 2 main areas tonight, maybe 3 if I feel like we have enough time. And then we'll get into the rest next week for part 2. So this is going to be, I think, a series with relationships. It's just been on my heart actually this month specifically, because part of it is just my own journey right now and coming to a place of truly making peace with some relationships in my life completely. This is actually the month of completion. So for me, this is kind of where the Lord has me, is just solidifying certain parts of my life that have still been needing some closure. So yeah, so that's what's on my heart. Now, relationships are so broad, so complex, and so multifaceted because we are complicated human beings with our own stories, our own journeys, and of course our own recovery, our own issues. And so with that said, I thought I'd start this off by introducing some very foundational understanding to kind of help us understand relationships in their complete form, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm going to get started. I will save this, and welcome everybody as you start coming into the chat. Please remember to be respectful in the chat for everybody else, and if you have any questions, I will answer them at the end of the live stream, but I'll make sure to kind of look periodically throughout the teaching. Feel free to share any comments, any of your own experiences as we're discussing some of these things. And yeah, so we're going to get started. The problem with relationships, and I say problem because we are broken people, all of us are, and we're learning to heal, we're learning to recover, and we're learning to be restored. So my hope with this teaching is to get some basic understanding and apply this to your own life and your own relationships. And so let's get started. So I'm defining relationship as a connection that you have to another human being. In its simplest form, it is a connection that you have to another human being. Now, I could actually expound a lot on this because connections, especially these days, are different. than what they used to be before we were completely consumed and immersed with technology. But in its simplest terms, it's a connection you have to another human being. Now, obviously, these connections differentiate between inherited connections that we have with people, like our family, association connections that we have with people, like coworkers or acquaintances, and then connections that we have with people that we choose to have with people, like friends and significant others. So in and of itself, there's different dynamics to this. Now, before I can understand relationship with others and problems within those relationships, I must know the problems and the relationship with self, within myself. Okay? So just as I've taught before, my source of understanding how other people are must come first with understanding how I am. I must know who I am. So my relationship with self is the beginning. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and define problem first, because I know once I start getting into this, I'm just going to start talking. So I've defined problem as an obstacle that presents itself often, most often, to be remedied or fixed. Okay? So let's start with relationship with self. So I must first cultivate a healthy relationship with myself. Okay, so again, if I'm to understand my dynamic in relationship with other people, in its purest form, I must learn that within self first. So I need to know myself very well. And that does not come by osmosis. I need to spend time with myself. I need to be honest with myself. I need to get to know myself. And for some of us, this is not easy because, and this is where I'm going to get into like temperaments and personalities. Some of us are very social creatures. Like, I need to be around people all the time. I'm not one of those people, but some of you are. So in other words, you spend a lot of time with other people, and perhaps you dread spending time by yourself because that's just how you are. For others of us, we spend way too much time with ourselves and not enough time with other people. So knowing this about yourself, I would, describe this as extroverts, introverts in its very basic description. Then you can get into like the specifics of INFJ and all those, different categories of personalities and temperaments. But it is important to know who you are and to spend time with self. Now, again, I say a healthy relationship with self. So if you are somebody who doesn't like to spend time with people very much, then you need to work on your social skills. You need to work on meeting, friends or other people that, would help you balance that out. And if you're somebody who is always relating to other people, then you need to spend some time with self. So, understand that for yourself. And by now, most people already know who they are. I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. So a healthy balance of cultivating relationship with self. Let's see. So this also has to do with, hi, welcome. Welcome to the live stream. I'm talking about relationships, and this is part one. Actually, I'm going to do a two-part series on this specific one. But you just joined at the right time. I just got started. So we're talking about relationships with self. My relationship with myself will only be as strong as my relationship with the one who made me, which is God Himself. Okay, so then again, here we are where we understand the very basics of who I am. I am a spiritual creation that possesses a soul, living in this mortal body while I'm on planet Earth. Okay, so I am more than just my body. I am more than just what I think and what I feel and the decisions that I make. I am a spiritual creation. So my spirit needs to be connected to a source to pour into my soul, to cultivate who I am so that I can live it out in the natural world. Okay? So if you're in a place where you don't feel connected to yourself, you're kind of just meandering through life, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you want, you know, this is all in the inner being. You need to discover who you are internally first. And if you're wrestling in the soul realm, then you're probably in some way wrestling in the spirit realm. So I would encourage you to cultivate a relationship with God first and foremost. And I'll get into that in just a minute. Let's see. So cultivating a healthy relationship with myself means that I build solid foundations with who I am, knowing that this is a lifelong process to become my authentic self. So again, this is our whole journey here is discovering who I am, where I came from, what am I doing here, and where am I going. That is what life is all about. So I have a purpose while I'm here. I came from somewhere and I'm going somewhere. And my whole life is wrapped around this thirst and quest for knowledge of answering those questions. Again, the strength of how well I know and relate to myself will determine the rest of my relationships. So let me get into this relationship with God for a minute. God is the creator of humanity. So it makes sense to seek Him to understand me. Now, again, you know, we're all in different spaces when it comes to relating to God. This is all based on how we were raised, what was told to us about God, or what was taught to us about God based on how our parents related to God or related to us. Perhaps our own experiences going to church, or our own experiences with people who profess to know God. All of this experience cultivated this understanding within me about who God is to me. And for some of us, it could be that we need some unraveling to know who God truly is. And I was one of those, actually. I didn't really necessarily have a religious upbringing. I mean, I guess I did in a way. My parents tried to take us to church often. And by the time I was in high school, you know, I had some issues growing up. And I was very jaded, actually, by some of those experiences. and feeling that the church was not there for me. So I went through my rebellion in my 20s, where I literally ran away from God. I wanted nothing to do with God. And that led me straight to Him, actually. For some of you, this is your story or similar, where, you had experiences or you had relationships that did not show you the true, loving, merciful, patient, graceful God that He truly is. So you may need to unravel that experience within yourself and that knowledge, false information of who He is, and relearn who He is, because He is merciful, He is kind, He is forgiving, He is patient, and I could go on and on about how wonderful He is. God is my only lamp to the path to myself. God is the only lamp or light to the path to myself. So if I want to know me, I need to know Him, because He's the one who created me, and He knows what is within me even before I experience life. He knows everything that I'm going to go through before I go through it, and He knows every way of escape when I get there, and He knows every wonderful, redeeming reward for all that I've been through. If I don't know God, the creator of the universe and the father of humanity, I will not know myself. Again, He is the key to know self. So if you're here where you're wrestling with God, which many of us have, and many of us will, that is your starting point, is to make peace with Him. All of us have been through something horrible in life at some point or another, or will go through something horrible. And He is the one to carry us through. And trust me, it may not feel like it, it may not seem like it, and there may be seasons in your life where you're wondering where He is. But He is a loving, faithful God who will get you through everything in life. And I say this on the other side of many things that I've been through. So, I'm going to come back to relationship with self a little bit longer, because I feel like there's more to kind of dig in here, okay? I need to know myself. I need to know where I was broken. And I need to know what I like, what I hope for, what I desire, what I need. And I need to know how to put it all together. And this is called the life journey. Our entire life is discovering all of these things. But I must be true. I must be real. I must be honest with myself in order to get to know myself well. I shared this before, but there's different seasons that we're in when it comes to the inner healing journey, because we're all recovering, okay? We're all recovering from something. We're all going through something, or we're all coming out of something. And I call these, the stages. So if you're in a place where I think I describe this as like you're either running from your pain, okay, escapism. You're running from your pain because you're not ready to deal with it. And yet at the same time, there's a part of you that knows something's not right. I don't feel peace. I can't figure out what I want to do with myself. So there's a season of running away, escaping, and this can look all kinds of ways. Some of us are battling addiction. Some of us are battling constant worrying and anxiety and stress, and not having a healthy way to cope. So we have to remember this at the very core of self, that we were created to be in peace. I could stay here for a while. God created us to live in peace. This is why we're always seeking peace, okay? And if we don't truly understand that it is spiritual inheritance, we're always going to be looking for it outside of self. But when you come to the place where you realize that my peace is spiritual, it comes from God, and I can have it for myself in spite of what I'm going through, it changes your entire life. And it helps you then to have an anchor to deal with all my problems and all my issues and my disconnection to myself. So that's your starting point, is getting to the truth of who I am. What you went through, what you're going through. And again, these are all, you're in different stages. We're all in different stages in this recovery. So, in terms of the problems, like I said, problems within relationships, when it comes to me, one of the dynamics, as I'm expounding on right now, is my unhealed self. So, and the interesting thing about this is a lot of us don't even realize that we have unhealed trauma from my childhood, or even from my, rebellion days or whatever, that I'm still not even aware that it's there. In fact, I might think that this is my problem when actually it's something beneath that you haven't dealt with. So when it comes to self, where are you with your inner child? Is that inner child seen? Is that inner child connected to you? Okay. And these, by the way, I said this is the beginning of series on relationships, because I will get into specific areas when it comes to these topics. Okay, so, and I'm going to come back to this too later. When it comes to relationships with others, which I'm going to get into in just a second, I need to understand my unhealed self, their unhealed self, and not necessarily what their issues are per se, but the fact that they are also struggling. I need to learn the balance of myself and others, and I need to learn the harmony of myself within myself. And as I said at the beginning, my starting point is God, my relationship to Him and with Him, so that I can then understand my relationship with myself and move on to my relationship with, I'm going to start with family, because our families, oh good, I'm about 25 minutes in. So yeah, this is a good stopping point. After family, we're going to talk about family for a little. And then whoever's in the chat, I will take questions or comments, and then we'll talk about some other ones. Yeah, I think that's perfect. Okay, so relationship with family. Okay, from the start, I'm going to say about our family is that it's all by design. You were born into your family for a specific reason. You are that person in your family for a specific reason. And it's important to know this first and foremost. Your family are not perfect, and they have their own issues that they have brought into the family dynamic. Okay? So I'm going to start with earthly family. Again, mother, father, siblings. Some of us were adopted. Some of us grew up with grandparents, guardians, relatives. So we all have different earthly family dynamics, and none of them had it all figured out or together. So I must first remember that by the sheer fact that I belong in terms of bloodline to my specific family, I need to remember that first and foremost, generationally speaking, I have inherited certain things from my family. And some of those things are not so pretty. In my specific family, some of those unpretty things have personally affected me. And they are this. Alcoholism. That's something that I have seen on one side of my family in a great measure, actually. And it has caused a lot of heartache in my family. I have seen it. I've personally experienced it. And it is something that I have to be cognizant of because, and actually by the grace of God, it didn't affect me directly in relation to I have personally lived in alcoholism, but I have received other things that I have personally lived in. Addiction is one of those things. Domestic violence, that is something that I have seen a lot in my family, and I have been a victim of that myself. And so these are things within your family, and you have your own, that you need to recognize as generational inheritance. And I mean this on the broken side of the inheritance. Now, what's amazing is that when I can recognize the root of this lineage that has been passed down to me, and I can recognize that I have the potential to break that cycle in my family, I have a posture of victory. But again, it takes you stepping back and assessing, this is my family, this is what we struggle with. For some of us, it's more spiritual. For some of us, there's witchcraft, there's, gossiping and just always talking down to people or talking behind their back. These things, unfortunately, we don't see them as big issues, but they cause a lot of damage, and they cause a lot of trust issues and all kinds of domino effect issues. So when I come to the place where I recognize, this is something that my mom struggles with, this is something that my dad struggles with, or this is something that my siblings struggle with, and obviously I need to know my issues that I struggle with. But when I can see it as a whole and see, okay, this is a family issue, this is a family problem, then it helps me to learn to separate myself from it and learn to gain victory from it. Okay, this is a whole teaching by itself. Breaking those generational bondages in our family and curses, and trust me, it's not for the faint of heart, okay? You have to be bold enough to address these things, first spiritually, but there might come times where you have to bring it up in your family and say, you know what, this is not right. We need to deal with this, or I'm going to deal with this, and you guys can choose what you guys can choose. So that's earthly family. Now, God has also given us spiritual family. Many of us don't have a lot of family. We were not born into a big family. So for those of us who don't have a lot of earthly roots, God brings, and He does this for everyone, but He may bring a spiritual family to you. He may bring a wiser older woman who can pour into you, or wiser older man who can pour into you, or brothers and sisters in Christ who are further along in their walk with God that can pour into you. And this, by the way, is where we do gain a lot of wisdom and knowledge and resources to pour into self and then to pour back into our earthly family so that we can help heal. Because ultimately, that's what we're looking for. We want to be whole. We want to be whole. We want to be well. We want to be happy. We want to be the best that we can be. Let's see, what else? So I think I'm going to pause here. Whoever's in the chat, if you have any questions, or if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to leave me a comment or a question and I will answer it. But relationships with myself and with God and with my family, all of this is important. And the foundation of my relationships outside of them. So for part 2, I'm going to let's see. I'm going to get into relationships, I should say, with friends, and relationships with, or no, actually that's not the note I have here. I put part 2 as relationships with my true love. That one might be its own teaching, actually. You know what? Yeah, let me get 32. Yeah, let me get into relationship with friends, actually, before we wrap. And then I'll save relationships with my relationships with, significant others. And there's a whole array of all of that. But eventually and inevitably and hopefully, you come to the relationship with your true divine partner, which is what God would want for you, for those of us that are called to marriage. So relationships with friends. I put this in 4 kind of categories. So I have my childhood relationships. Again, these are relationships that, because of where I grew up, where my family connected with their friendships, again, inherited. So these are friendships that I sort of inherited by the mere fact that my parents lived here, and these are my friends across the street, and they're my friends. Or at school, these are the people that I connected with when I was at school. And I would childhood into youth, because really you're kind of at the mercy of your parents until you graduate from high school, most of us. Then you have your adult friends. So you're old enough now, you're out on your own, and you make your own friends. And then you have friends that are lifelong. These are friends that you've known for most of your life, and they're still a part of your life. And then seasonal friends. So these are friends that sort of just come into your life for certain times, and then they're gone. So again, my relationship with my friends, and I would say mostly in my adult life, because when you're younger, again, you don't know who you truly are yet when you're younger. You're still developing, you're still absorbing and assimilating everything around you. But when you're old enough in your adult life, you have the understanding, interestingly enough, based on your childhood and based on your experiences so far, how to connect with friends. And this is where, some of the issues and problems would probably surface in our adult life. Especially, like I said, if we're not really connected to self and we're still living the unhealed version of who I am. Now, again, going back to the temperaments and the personalities, for some of us, we are the ones who reach out to our friends. I'm one of those people. For others, you don't reach out to them. You wait for them to reach out to you. But again, a relationship is a connection. So in order for it to actually be a friendship, it must be a mutual exchange of connection. And a lot of us know this, but once you're old enough, you'll know who your true friends are. The friends that I can call at 3 a.m. when my life's falling apart, they answer or they get back to me in a timely fashion. That's a friend. A friend is someone who is there for you. So some of us have friends that we call friends, and especially in this day of social media and all that, it's few and far between that we have genuine, true friends. Some of us are social butterflies, so we call everybody friends, even if we never talk to them. And some of us have 2 friends that, we consider my ride or die. And these are the people that are here for us. But to get to the point of this, the strength of my friendships is contingent on my unhealed self, their unhealed self, learning the balance of self and others, learning the harmony of myself. And again, my starting point is always God. Okay? So I hope this blessed you. I'm going to come back next week with part 2, and it's going to be probably a little bit of a recap, but it's going to be dedicated to the relationships with your true divine partner, your true love, which there's only one. So thanks for joining everybody in the chat and everybody who's watching. Hope you have a blessed night, and I will talk to you guys next week. Oh yeah, by the way, I am going to be doing my workshop. Haven't done it in a while, actually. I think I did it in January, my winter one. I love. I didn't do a spring one. I meant to do one in April, but I was kind of in the middle of moving, and it was just a little too hectic for me. But I'm doing one for summer, and it's July 16th. I need some water. It's July 16th, which is next Tuesday. And I'm not sure if I'm going to live stream it or if I'm going to record it and then just share it, but everyone's welcome. I am asking for $7 for the workshop for whoever wants to donate $7 for the She's Restored family. So please share it with others. I think I posted it on the community board, and hopefully I'll see you guys there. So love y'all and have a great rest of the night, and I'll talk